With us once again is a frequent guest on Live It Up because he's changing lives, he and his community. We have with us now Dr. Jeffrey Reynolds. Hello and welcome to the show again.
Thanks so much for having me. I really, really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you again.
Man, you have been on such a journey. Tell us about the position you have now and what's happening there.
So I have the privilege of being the president and CEO of Family and Children's Association, which is one of Long Island's oldest and largest not-for-profit organizations. We've been around for more than 135 years, which is pretty amazing. And we provide a variety of services to Long Islanders of all ages, everything from kids in a preschool in the village of Hempstead to seniors across Nassau County and everything in between. You know, the last time I was here, Donna, we spoke about our brand new recovery center for people who have struggled with addiction. That continues to operate on, it's amazing kind of what's happened with that center. More than 200 people a week relying on that center. We run 2 chemical dependency treatment centers. Really, all of our services are focused on lifting people up and making Long Island a healthier and a safer place for everybody.
You grew up here, correct, on Long Island?
I did. I've never left.
Okay. And when you got this gig as the president of this group, what was one of the biggest challenges for you in taking something over like that? Having such a long, rich, beautiful tradition, like what was that turning point for you personally? Why did you take on this challenge?
You know, I ran a much smaller organization leading into this in which I had 15 employees. Now I have 350 employees across multiple locations. You know, for me, the opportunity was really to have a much bigger impact on the not-for-profit sector and ultimately my community. I think, you know, the key thing that I wrestle with every day is I'm a very, very impatient person. Things can't happen fast enough. And you learn that when you run a very large organization with lots of things going on, that things don't happen as quickly as you want. And so it's like turning around a cruise ship. And as you probably know, this is not the easiest time in the world for not-for-profit organizations. Yet we know that a lot of our communities are really struggling. We have school districts here on Long Island where the disparities continue. There are issues in healthcare here on Long Island, certainly addiction, as we've spoke about before. And we have an aging population that continues to grow without a lot of support services in place. So, you know, I think the challenge is increased community needs, perhaps less resources, but that's, I think, made us a better and stronger organization because we find new ways of helping people that perhaps we hadn't envisioned before. And I like to think about how virtually every other piece of our world has been disrupted by technology and new companies. I like to think that we're a 130-year-old company that's going to disrupt poverty and homelessness and illiteracy and addiction and all the things that we've been trying to disrupt for generations.
It's a hard climate out there. You know, I see like the suicide rate is getting younger. My son's in middle school. There was a young girl that took her life. It's a hard time for people. But knowing that there's a call that they can make, or knowing that there's resources. One of the reasons I love having you on the show is that you're a place for that. You're a place to call. You're a place that either you can help them directly, or you, like you said, you have this network, if you will, of affiliates that can help find a solution. You're really saving lives. At the end of the day, Jeff, I really do feel like your organization is saving lives. It's enriching lives. It's making things better.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And that's for, I think, for our staff who aren't paid a lot of money. It's a lot of work. I think for all of us at the end of the day, we get that's what it's about. And very often when you sit across from somebody in need, you see yourself in that position, in that person's eyes, or maybe a family member who struggled. And we know now that when it comes to mental health issues and addiction, a lot of these things aren't necessarily getting better. You know, all the indicators say that they're getting a little bit worse despite some economic recovery happening. And so, you know, when you sit across from somebody and they share with you perhaps the most painful story that they've ever shared with anyone before, that reaching out for help really is a gift. That human connection that you create in providing services really is a gift.
Do you feel that sometimes prescription drugs that are misused then end up using other types of drugs, and that kind of is the pathway to the moment of disaster?
It is. You know, and as we think about the current opioid and heroin crisis, certainly overprescribing has played a big role in all of that. But I'd say if you step back even a little bit further than that and say, so why are pain pills the thing that's hot right now? I think part of that is there's a lot of folks out there in pain. And I'm not talking about physical pain, I'm talking about psychological pain. And there's a lot of folks who are out there struggling, and you know, they've been marketed a product that makes all your pain go away. And so we see the use of prescription meds increasing. You know, at the same time we talk about losing 64,000 lives to opioid addiction last year, we know that we lost 88,000 lives nationwide to alcoholism. And so we tend to grab onto the issue of the day, but drugs or alcohol, whether it's heroin, fentanyl, marijuana, or anything else, really comes from a place where folks are trying to cover over that pain, trying to
Yeah.
get rid of that pain and find a new path. And a lot of folks will say, look, I didn't use drugs in order to get high. I used drugs in order to just feel normal for a moment.
Yeah, to just be able to cope.
Right.
But there's other positive coping mechanisms,
Yeah.
whether it's like biking or athletics or reading or social connection. And the recovery center, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, there's some great things some great programs that
There
are
are.
helping people like thrive now.
There are. And you know what? For a long time, I think we really focused on how do we get drugs out of a person's life without helping them put anything back in. And so if I help you stop using heroin on a daily basis, you're going to fill that time, that energy, that void with something else unless I give you those outlets and unless I give them to you on a consistent basis. You know, same thing goes for mental health issues. There are a lot of folks who are struggling. And the common denominator in all of these things really is with a little bit of help, people can do magical things. They're not hopeless. There's a lot of hope, but sometimes involves them coming forward and saying, I could use a hand. And all of us as a community, not necessarily just the organizations, but individuals reaching out to another person saying, look, I can probably help you out. I haven't been there. I haven't experienced what you're experiencing, but for the grace of God go I, and I'm willing to help.
Being a good neighbor,
Absolutely.
caring about your community.
Absolutely.
Thank you very, very much.
It's always a pleasure. Thank you so much
So
for
cool.
having me on.
Dr. Jeffrey Reynolds, for this help, please reach out to this website. Stay tuned for more on Live It Up.